Namah
Oh,
Shivaya.
good morning,
Namah Shivaya.
Acharya.
So we are on the 14th chapter now. Today we started 14th chapter. So please unmute yourself. अथ चतुर्दशोऽध्यायः
अथ
चतुर्दशोऽध्यायः
गुणत्रयविभागयोगः
गुणत्रयविभागयोगः
श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
परं भूयः प्रवक्ष्यामि
परं
प्रवक्ष्यामि
ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमम् यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे
यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे
परां सिद्धिमितो गताः
परां सिद्धिमितो गताः।
Okay, so we have moved away from the chapter on the 13th chapter, and Shankara gives an explanation in his introduction. Why is it that we have to talk about gunas? Because gunas are basically anatma. So in these few chapters, which is the last shatakam, which is supposed to deal basically with only the pure jnana, why are we talking about gunas? Gunas belong to anatma only. How come anatma is talked about by Krishna? So Shankara says, Prakritis Tattvam. Prakritis Tattvam is body identification. Deha Abhimanam. He says Deha Abhimanam causes attachment to gunas. And gunas is samsara karanam. Because gunas is the cause of samsara. Therefore, an inquiry is necessary. And in this inquiry into the gunas, there are a few questions, right? So he lists out the questions, and as we go through the chapter, you will find that Krishna is actually answering these questions. So Krishna himself doesn't say, but Shankara, in his introduction to the chapter, chapter Bhashyam, he raises these questions. So his first question is Keva Gunaha. What exactly are the gunas? That is number one. Second question is Kasmin Gune Katham Sangaha. In which guna, in which type of guna does which type of attachment takes place? What is the guna attachment description? In a particular guna, a particular attachment can take place. So, kasmin gune katham sankaha. In the gunas, in which guna does what type of attachment take place? Second. Okay, after that, katham va te badhanati iti. How do these gunas bind you? And gunebhyascha mokshanam katham syat. How can you get moksha from gunas? How can you get freedom from the gunas? And muktasya lakshanam vaktavyam. What are the indicators of person who has transcended the gunas? So muktasya is the guna atitaha, which Krishna talks about. And he says, Etyevamartham cha Bhagavan uvacha. For answering these questions only, the Lord has begun to speak. So before entering this chapter, I will recall the word Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyogaha of the 13th chapter. This is the connection, Sanyogaha, between Kshetram and Kshetrajna. And remember that when you say Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyogaha, that Sanyoga, that connection, that bondage can apply at the Samashti level as well as at the Vyashya level. So when there is Samashti level Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyoga, what does it mean? What is the entity arising out of Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyoga at Samashti level called.
Saguna Ishvara.
It is Ishvaraha. And similarly, at Vyashti level, when you say Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyoga,
Jivatma.
Jiva. Right? So this should be clear. There is my small difference over here, of course, in understanding, because when you say Vyashti level Kshetrajna Sanyoga, there is Adhyasa. Right? The Jivatma has got Adhyasa, has got misconceptions. But when you say Kshetrajna Sanyoga at Samashti level, we cannot say that there is Adhyasa there. Ishvara has no Adhyasa. And therefore, this 14th level, the 14th chapter, this particular Adhyaya, it talks about Sanyoga at the Samashti level as well as Sanyoga at the Vyashti level. You will see that the first 4 verses Krishna talks about Sanyoga at Samashti level, Ishvara. And the last verses, this last 14 verses, he talks about Sanyoga at the Vyashti level. Right? So micro level Sanyoga, Vyashti level Sanyoga is discussed from verse 5 to verse 18, while verse 1 to 4 discusses Samashti level Sanyoga. So, of course, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Lord said, Bhuyaha, again, Pravakshyami, I will talk about Param Jnanam. Bhuya Pravakshyami Param Jnanam. Once again, I will talk about the highest knowledge to you. And that knowledge, Uttama Jnananam, Uttamam Jnananam. So, Uttamam Jnanam Jnananam. That knowledge which I am talking about to you, which is Param Jnanam, is Uttamam, is the greatest, most supreme Jnananam among any form of knowledge. And Gyatva Yat, having got this knowledge, Sarve Munayaha, all the wise people, all the sages, Param Gataha Siddhim, have reached that supreme goal, Itaha, from here itself, in this life itself. Now, Bhuyaha Pravakshyami. Krishna simply says, I will teach you again. And Shankara is a very careful commentator. So he adds, I will teach you what I have already taught you in the previous chapters. So that you should read into the meaning. I will teach you again means what I have already taught you in the previous 13 chapters. Now I will tell you again. You should not think that I am talking about something else. Now, will this not be Punarukti doshaha? That is the question. And we know that for any Shastram to be considered a Shastram, we have 6 indicators. So there's a small little verse which you should all remember. Upakrama upasamharo, upakrama upasamharo, abhyaso purvata phalam, arthavado papattihi cha lingam, tatparna nirnaye. What are they? Upakramaha, upasamharaha, abhyasaha, purvataha, phalam, arthavadaha. Okay. So, we will not talk about all of these here because we have discussed it earlier. What is important here is the third one, abhyasaha. So, abhyasaha here means is a indicator of repetition. Repetition means that there is some very important, some crucial aspect of the teaching which is not understood very easily. And therefore, again and again and again, the teacher has to repeatedly talk about that. So, abhyasa is an indication that this particular subject is very, very sukshma, very subtle, and requires a lot of repetitions to drive it home. So, for a subtle topic, the punaruktihi, the again and again repetition, is not a dosha. Actually, punaruktihi for this sukshma subject is regarded as an abharanam, as an ornament for the teacher. And being a good teacher, Krishna presents the same ideas from different angles every time. So you have seen it as Purusha Prakriti distinctions, Vibhagaha. Purusha Prakriti discussions, Kshetrajna discussions. So, and now he is presenting it differently as Gunatraya, Guna Atitaha discussions. So Gunatraya Vibhagaha, Guna Atita Vibhagaha. And he says Jnananam, among all sorts of Jnanam, Paramattamam, Atma Jnanam is the greatest knowledge in the world. Okay. Again, look at the words Param Uttamam. We wouldn't give it a second thought. We would just go past. But what does Param mean and what does Uttamam mean? They are the same, right? Param means highest. Uttamam means highest, greatest. Then why repeat? So Shankara says, this is also not Punarukti. There is a very subtle difference. Param deals with what? Paramarthavast, the greatest reality. So in terms of subject matter, this knowledge is the greatest because it is dealing with the only non-perishable item. Paramarthika Satyam. Therefore, Param. And therefore, Param has to be taken as greatest because it is dealing with the greatest subject. So, Vishaya Drishtaya Uttamam. From the viewpoint of the Vishaya, of the objects, it is the supreme. And Uttamam deals with the phalams. Every knowledge has a particular phalam. So first Param deals with the fact that you are dealing with knowledge of the highest possible object. Atma, Paramatika Satyam. Uttamam refers to the Jnana Phalam. Every knowledge has a phalam. The Jnana Phalam is the phalam of Atma Jnanam. And among all the phalams, Jnana Phalam is the greatest. Therefore, Uttamam refers to the phalam and Param refers to the subject. Therefore, Vishaya Drishtiya Uttamam and Phala Drishtiya. This is what is meant by Param and Uttam. Very nice discussion. We don't come across these in other texts. We focus only in Shankara Bhashya. And Shankara adds here very carefully. He says, Jnanam should not be taken as amanitvam. Why does he say this? Jnananam iti na amanitvadinam. Jnanam should not be confused with amanitvam, etc. If you've been following the Gita closely, the answer is very obvious. Anybody? No? Okay. Let's go back to the 13th chapter. What was the name given to Amanitvam, etc.?
Sadguna. Sadguna.
Sadguna is fine. But in the chapter, what is the name?
That's Jnanam.
Hmm?
Jnanam, no?
Yeah.
From the
Right.
Jnanam.
So how can you miss this connection? That Jnanam was the name used for the Sadgunas in the 13th chapter. And here, Jnanam is Atma Jnanam. Therefore, Shankara says, don't confuse the jnanam here with the jnanam of 13th chapter. Those refers to sadgunas. This refers to Atma Jnanam. And that is why in Mundaka we said this knowledge is called Paravidya. It's also called Rajavidya. Which chapter? Rajavidya,
Nine.
Rajaguhyam.
Ninth chapter.
9.
Ninth chapter. So you must learn to jump from, chapter to chapter. That is why I keep on saying you have to chant. The words must be at your tongue tips. So, yat gyatva, having gained this greatest wisdom, sarve munayehe, all the munis, all the seekers, and munaya here literally means sannyasi, but you have to take it as a person who has got all the necessary sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. How do you get to that meaning? Because sannyasi literally means what? Renunciation. Renunciation means detachment. And detachment indicates sadhana chatusha sampattihi. Therefore, sarve munayaha means all the seekers who have got sufficient sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. And of course, those who have spent sufficient study time in Vedanta. Param siddhim mitagataha. They have attained moksha, which is the highest accomplishment in life. Okay. Now here, what is the gataha? Because gataha means having gone. So param siddhim mitagataha means having gone from here, they attain moksha. So Shankara wants to point out that it doesn't mean that they got jivan mukti only after they went from here. So therefore he adds, gataha means praptaha asmat deha bandhanat urdhvam. After dropping the body, they have got videha mukti, he says. Jivan mukti they got even while remaining in the body, even while alive. What does this translate into Videha Mukti? When you talk about Videha Mukti, in our Tattvaboda language, remember Vishwa merges with Virat. On Videha Mukti, the Vishwa merges with Virat. Tajasa merges with Hiranyagarbha. And Prajna merges with Ishvara. In short, Vyashti merges into Samashti. That is called Videha Mukti. Jivan Mukti he has already got. But when he drops the body, all his bodily components, they merge into the respective origin. There is no more rebirth. Okay. Then, verse number 2. Please unmute yourself. Idam jnanamupashritya
Idam
Idam
jnanamupashritya
mama agataha
Mama
mama
Samadharmyamagataha
mama sadharmyam agataha
mama
Samadharmyamagataha
sarge pinopajayante
sarge
Nopajayante
pralayena vyathanti cha.
pralayena
Pralayena
vyanti
Vyatanti cha.
Okay. So, he says that idam jnanam upashritya, having taken refuge in this knowledge, having obtained this knowledge, mama agataha sadharmya mama. Mama agataha, they have come to me. Sadharmya mama, they have got the same nature as me. And therefore what happens? Sarge api, even during the next creation, na upajayante, they are not born. And pralaye, even during the pralayam which follows this creation, na vyathanti cha, they do not get destroyed. during Pralayam. Okay. So, having talked about Videha Mukti, Krishna wants to define what is Jivan Mukti and what is Videha Mukti. And he briefly says, Idam Jnanam Upasati. By acquiring this Atma Jnanam. And Shankara adds, Jnanam Upasatya means Jnana Sadhanam Anushtaya. Following the Jnana Sadhana. Following the sadhana of Jnanam, which is Shravanam, Maranam, Nididhyasanam. You can also say Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, etc. He has done the entire series, starting from Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. Karma Yoga gave freedom from Malam. Upasana gave freedom from Vikshepaha. With that focused mind, he came to Shravanam, then did Maranam, and then did Nididhyasanam, ending up as a complete Jnani. Okay. Now, even though he says Jnana Upasritya and Shankara says Jnana Sadhana Anushtaya, and Jnana Sadhanam can be taken as Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam. But remember that Sadhana Chatushtayam is very important. Because if sufficient Sadhana Chatushtayam is not there, sufficient Chitta Suddhi is not there, and you do get Jnana, you will have Jnana, but you'll keep on getting troublesome thoughts. So that you want to avoid that. And that is why, Shankara didn't talk about it. But all post-Shankara teachers, Acharyas, they focus a lot on Ashtanga Yoga as Chitta Vritti Nirodha. You must have a focused mind, even if you've got Jnana, so that you can meditate on the Jnana and keep troublesome thoughts away. Okay, but having said that, you should know that we talked about this earlier also, that there are always involuntary thoughts which come in the mind. You don't have to go and invite these thoughts, troublesome thoughts, you don't have to invite. They keep on invading your mind. Thoughts cannot be avoided, but I should have the capacity, the moment this troublesome thought appears, I should be able to stop it at its source and replace that thought using my willpower. So thoughts like worry, thoughts like fear, guilt, anxiety, depression, these are all involuntary thoughts. They don't have to be invited. They come. And therefore, when they come, we should use Pratipaksha Bhavana and be able to replace them with more positive thoughts. Anyway, we are digressing. Then he says, Mama Sadharmyam Agataha. They have come to me. They have attained oneness with me. And here, sadharmyam means similarity. And Shankara wants to avoid that particular translation because sadharmyam is different from aikyam, is it not?
Yes.
Similarity is different from oneness. So Shankara comments, he says sadharmyam should be very clearly understood to not mean samana dharma, not mean similar attributes. So it is not as if Jivan Mukti is getting some of Ishvara's attributes. Which is why he says in Bhagavad Gita that the idea of any difference, the 13th chapter in his Bhashyam, we said, Shankara had said, the idea of any difference between Kshetrajnaha and Ishvara is not accepted. There is no difference at all. We had a long discussion on that as far as the 13th chapter Shankara's comments are concerned, if you remember. And therefore, Sadharmyam has to be taken as the very own nature, Swarupa Satyam, right? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, the very nature of Brahman. When I say that seeker has got Sadharmyam, when Krishna says it, he means that seeker has understood that he is non-different from Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahman. Okay. It is very important because Ramanuja has different views. Ramanuja is Vishishta Advaita proponent. So he has different views, which we'll see later. Okay. So he says, Ishvara Swarupam, these people enjoy. They have Purnatvam even while they are alive. And therefore, Jivan Mukti is what Krishna has already defined very beautifully in chapter 2. Anybody remembers? No.
Apuryamanam achalam pratishta.
Atmana eva
Atmana
Atmana tushtaha.
Atmana tushta.
That is nothing but Jivan Mukti. Total sense of self-sufficiency. You don't need anything else. And of course, you will not have any insecurities also, which Shankara comments over here. He said, Jnanam will also remove any abhaya swarupaha, any sense of insecurities. Because this man is no longer, this person is no longer bound by karma phala. Because he knows that he is not the karta. And then what happens after death? He's already got Jivan Mukti. That's what is defined there. He's already Atmana eva Atmana tushtaha. Because he has got the knowledge while living. And what happens after death? Sarge apina upajayante. He is not born again. He is a Videha Muktaha. Not only that, he is not born again. The next creation is one thing. What about this creation? Pralaye na vyasarticha. Even when pralayam comes, he will not be destroyed. What is pralayam? Shankara says, Brahmana api vinashakale. So here, pralayam is used in the sense of Mahapralayam. Brahmana api vinashakale means even when Lord Brahmaji dies. Why does he say this? Tell me. Why does Shankaracharya very specifically say that pralaya should be understood as Mahapralayam? Because there are two words, pralayam and there is Mahapralayam. What is the difference between the two words?
Level pralayam.
One think your internet is not sufficient for us to hear anything.
Okay, Acharya.
Anybody else wants to tell us what is the difference between pralayam and Mahapralayam? Nice, come on. We've discussed this so many times, especially in chapter 8.
Pralayam is the night of Brahmaji, and Mahapralayam is when even Brahmaji is not there.
Yeah. So, pralayam, I mean, in the scriptural tradition, creation is there during when Lord Brahma is awake, and when he goes to sleep at night, creation is destroyed. That is pralayam, right? So, 1 year, I mean, this is the rough equation. 1 year of human, what do you call, time is equal to 1 day of Lord Brahmaji, right? We saw all this in chapter 8. Now, when Lord Brahmaji is not Brahman, he is not Nityam. Lord Brahmaji also dies at the end of 100 years of Lord Brahmaji's life. So that when he dies, it's called Mahapralaya. The idea being conveyed here is that Pralaya should be taken as Brahmano api vinashakade. Even during the destruction of Lord Brahmaji, this person will not. Which means what? He is one step higher than Brahmaji, which is Brahman alone. Right? That logic is clear?
That means time factor is not, I mean, he's beyond time. There is
He
nothing
is,
calculated.
it is eternal. And Lord
Yes.
Brahmaji we know is not eternal. That
Yes.
is why Shankara says, Brahmana pi vilashakale. Otherwise, you might say that, okay, fine, as long as Brahmaji is alive in that particular creation, he is not going to have rebirth. But maybe in the next, when the next Brahmaji comes, how do we know? So Shankara says that also you should rule out. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Then we look at verse number 3. Remember, this is all a discussion on samashti, kshetrajna, kshetra sanyoga. Mama yo nirmahad brahma
Mama
महद्
Brahma
tasmin garbham dadamyaham
Tasmin
तस्मिन्
Garbham
गर्भं
Dadamyaham
sambhavah sarvabhutanam
Sambhava Sarvabhutanam
सर्वभूतानां
tato bhavati bharata.
ततो
ततो
भवति
भवति
भारत
भारत
So mama yonihi, my yoni, my womb, mahat brahma is the great Brahman. Tasmin aham garbham dadami. Garbham is the seed. Okay. So tasmin, into that yoni, I place the seed. I place the seed of the birth of the universe. And tataha, from that seed which is placed in the yoni, from the dual seed plus yoni, sambhava bhavati sarva bhutanam, occurs the birth of all beings. Hey Bharata, hey Arjuna. Okay. So what exactly is yoni over here? And Shankara says, Mama Sabhuta, that which is possessed by me. Who is me over here? Brahman. So I, Brahman, possess something as mine. And that non-separatable part which I possess, non-separatable from me, is what? Maya Sagunatmikaha, also known as Prakriti. Shankara says that yoni is to be defined as Maya, which is a non-separatable part of Brahman. It always exists with Brahman. Of course, we have to add not in the same order of reality. Right? So Maya is Prakriti itself. It has three gunas. Therefore, when he says Mahad Brahma, Mama Yoni Mahad Brahma, that Mahad Brahma refers to Prakriti, not Brahman itself. What is the difference between Prakriti and Brahman in terms of Upadana Karanam?
Prakriti is
Parinami
Parinami.
Brahman is Vivarta.
That's the Vivarta.
Remember that Prakriti is Parinami Upadana Karanam and Brahman is Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Parinami Upadana Karanam means changing cause of the universe. Vivarta Upadana Karanam means non-changing cause. Upadana means material. So Parinami Upadana Karanam, exact translation is the changing material cause of creation. And Brahman is non-changing material cause of creation. How do we say that Brahman and Maya are both Upadana Karanam?
Because
If you have to agree, if you have to understand that, you have to understand what is the contribution of Brahman and what is the contribution of Maya to the created Jagat.
without both together, Jagat is not created.
That is fine. I want to know what is the contribution of Brahman and what is the contribution of Maya to Jagat.
Existence path is coming from Brahman only, existence consciousness and material, that Pancha Mahabhutas, because of what in Vyavaharika level we see all these things that is coming from Maya.
Okay, so Brahman contributes the non-changing existence and consciousness to the Jagat. Maya contributes the changing Namarupa. Okay, that is why both are said to be contributors and therefore both are said to be Upadana Karana. When you talk about Brahman, Without Maya, pure Brahman, remember that at that Paramarthika level, there is no Jagat at all. When you are talking about creation, are you at Paramarthika or are you at Vyavaharika? Vyavaharika.
Vyavahar.
So whenever you say Brahman is Upadana Karana, you are talking about Brahman at the Vyavaharika level. Remember, that's a very important point. Brahman at Paramarthika level is not a creator. There is no creator, there is no creator, there is nothing excepting Brahman. Brahman at Vyavaharika level, in conjunction with Maya, is Ishvara. Right? Okay. Therefore, he says Prakriti is the Sarva Bhutanam Yonihi, the womb to the entire universe. And Mahad Brahma is the adjective to the word Yonihi. And therefore, it's important to understand what exactly is meant by Mahad Brahma. Mahat means superior or greatest. Why is, and we are referring to Prakriti, right? We are referring to Maya. So the word Mahat is used to as an adjective to Maya. Maya is therefore said to be the most superior. Why? Which is superior, Karanam or Karyam?
Karanam.
Karanam superior. What is born out of Maya?
Prakriti.
The entire
Jagat.
universe is born out of Maya. And therefore, which is superior, universe or Maya?
Maya.
Yeah.
Maya. Therefore, the word Mahat is used. Okay. Therefore, Mahat indicates that Maya is the gives birth to the entire universe. Therefore, the word Mahat has to be taken as Srishtikar. Okay. What about Brahma in that case? Remember, Mahat Brahma is adjective to Yoni, the womb. So when you say Mahat Yonihi, you are saying this Yoni, this Maya is is superior to all the products, which is the universe. The Maya is superior to the universe is the meaning of Mahat Brahma, Mahat Yoni. What about Brahma Yonihi? So Mahat indicates Maya is Srishti Karanam because it is the Karanam for the entire Jagat. Brahma, Shankara says, you have to take Brahma as, the supporter. Bharani, he says. He uses the word Bharani. Bharanacha Brahma iti vishishyate. What is Bharani?
It's like a holder.
Bharani is a jar. It's a container. Right? In every kitchen you have hundreds of Bharanis, containers. So it is a container of what? Shankara Vashyam, you have to use your head. The word Bharani is derived from the root bhr, which means to support. Therefore, Bharani has to be taken as supporter. And if Mahat indicates Srishti Karanam, Brahma is connected to Bharani, supporter. Therefore, Brahma indicates
Sthiti Karanam.
Sthiti Karanam. Right? So that is why the two adjectives. Mahat Brahma to Yoni. Mahat Yoni, Brahma Yoni. Mahat Yoni is this Maya is superior to all the Jagat, the entire Jagat. Brahma Yoni means this Maya is Sthiti Karanam. So Mahat Brahma Yoni, this Maya is Srishti Karanam and Sthiti Karanam. Right? But Maya is Jada. Maya is inert because it's Anatma. So what does Ishvara do? Tasmin aham garbham tadami. Tasmin garbham Dadamyaham. You break up that sentence. Tasmin aham garbham dadami. Right? Every word you have to note very carefully. Tasmin, in that. In what? In that Brahmani yoni or Mahati Brahmani yoni. In that yoni, in that Prakriti, which is Mahat Brahma, which is both Srishti and Sthiti Karana of universe. So Tasmin means all that. In that. That means in that Prakriti, which is the Srishti Karanam and the Sthiti Karanam of the whole universe, in that Prakriti, Ham Garbham Dadami. I put the seed, the Garbham. What is the seed? And remember, this is Ishvara talking. So from Tattvabodha angle, if you look at it, understanding is easier. Ishvara is what in Tattvabodha?
Maya Sahita Brahman.
Maya Sahita Brahman.
What is the name?
Antaryami.
Antaryami.
Antaryami. Therefore, if Antaryami is saying, I am putting the seed in the Prakriti, what? Seed for what?
For consciousness.
Acharya
In
ji,
the
is it
creation.
Hiranyagarbha?
Very good. Who said that?
Yeah.
Hiranyagarbha. Kush.
Hiranyagarbha, yes.
Excellent. So, remember the firstborn is Lord Brahmaji. Therefore, in that Prakriti, Antaryami is putting in the Garbham, the seed for the birth of Lord Brahmaji. Hiranyagarbhasya bijam, the seed for the birth of Lord Brahmaji, because Lord Brahmaji is firstborn. How do you know Lord Brahmaji is firstborn?
Mundaka. Mundaka Upanishad.
Okay, right. And then from that Lord Brahmaji, Sarva Bhuta Janma Karanam. That Brahmaji is the cause of the birth of Virat and Prajapatis and the entire universe. Okay. Okay. But remember that Maya is Avyakta Jagat, right? The entire universe in potential form. We have seen the definition earlier. Maya is nothing but Avyakta Nama Rupa. Avyakta Maya means Avyakta Nama Rupa. So what exactly is meant by Aham Garbham Dadami? So this discussion Shankara brings forward. We will never think of all this. But you have to remember that Prakriti is Parinami Upadana Karanam. Brahman is Vivarta Upadana Karanam. So when you say that I am putting the seed for Brahmaji, you can argue that, but the entire universe is already present in Avyakta Avastha as name and form in Prakriti. Of course, inert Avastha, right? And that's why Prakriti is Parinami Upadana Karanam. And that's what I said earlier. Prakriti contributes names and forms. And when therefore Aham Garbham Dadami, Brahman is Vivarta Upadana Karana. He contributes existence and consciousness. Hence, this Aham Garbham Dadami can be taken in the form of lending existence and consciousness to Anartha Maya, so that Anartha Maya, inert Maya, takes on the form of Srishti and Sthiti Karanam, which is Maya Sahita Brahma Ishvara, otherwise known as Hiranyagarbha. Mahasahita Brahman can also be called Antaryami. But in this context, since it is a stage where your Jagat is being formulated, Garbhadanam, giving the seed, is blessing Maya Tattvam with reflected consciousness, with Chidabhasa, in the form of lending existence and consciousness to Maya. Okay. Now in Gudartha Deepika, Madhusudana Saraswati gives another definition. He says, Garbham Dadami should be taken as Sankalpa Vritti. And where does the Sankalpa Vritti arise? In Ishvara's mind. What is Ishvara's mind? Maya. Right? And he says that you have to understand that before Sankalpa Vritti is taken, what is Sankalpa? Let me become the creator. Let the world come into being. So here the interpretation is that before the Sankalpa Vritti, in other words, before the Garbham Dadami, Maya is there in Karana Avastha. So we are talking here about Antaryami. But once that Garbham, that seed is put, then Hiranyagarbha comes into being. What is the difference between Hiranyagarbha and Antaryami? One is consciousness plus Karana, universe. The other is consciousness plus Karana universe plus all the Sukshma Sharirams. Therefore, when Sankalpa Vritti is done, in other words, when Antaryami gives Garbham, the seed, then only Sukshma Sharirams are born. And then comes Kshetrajna, Kshetrena, Sanyogam. Then you can connect the Vyashti Kshetrajna to the Vyashti Kshetram. Who is the Vyashti Kshetrajna? He is the Jiva with Karam Sariram. Therefore, once all this is done, once Hiranyagarbha is born, then Hiranyagarbha connects the Vyashti Kshetrajna to the Vyashti Kshetram. That is to say, to the Sukshma Sthula Sariram. And each Jiva is given an appropriate body based on his karma. Very detailed explanation of this particular verse. Any questions so far? Okay, then we go to the next quarter. This says Sambhava Sarvabhutanam Tato Bhavati Bharata. So Tataha means Tasmat Garbhatanat. From that activity of putting the seed, that is just in Maya, so Tataha means from that activity. Which activity? Lending of existence and consciousness, which we call Garbhadhana, Sankalpa Vritti. From that act of putting that, which means, in other words, from Lord Brahmaji, Sarva Bhutanam Sambhavaha Bhavati. The entire universe is then born. The sequence is very clearly indicated here. First, from Antaryami Ishvara, Lord Brahmaji Hiranyagarbha is born. From Lord Hiranyagarbha, from Lord Brahmaji, the entire universe in terms of Prajapatis, Manu, Rishis, and the Anatma Jagat is also born. Okay. Let's complete the Samashti discussion today. So we look at the fourth verse also. Let's chant. Sarvayonishu Kaunteya
Sarvayonishu Kaunteya
Murtaya Sambhavanti Yaha
Murtaya
Murtaya Sambhavanti Yaha
Asam Brahma Mahadyonihi
Tasam Brahmamaya Donihi
Ambija Pradah Pita
Aham Bija Pradapita
Ekanteya, hey Arjuna, Ya Murtaya, whatever forms Sambhavanti are born, Sarva Yonishu, in whatever yonis, in whatever wombs, Tasmat Tasam Mahad Brahma Yonihi, for all of those forms, Mahad Brahma is the yoni. He is saying, Ya Murtaya Sambhavanti Sarva Yonishu. Whatever beings and forms are born from whatever wombs in this universe, Tasam, for all those beings and forms, Mahad Brahma Yoni. Ultimately, Maya is the Yoni, is the cause. And Aham Pita Bija Pradaha. I am the father, Aham Pita Bija Pradaha, the donator of the seed. Okay, who provides the seed. So, what is Sarva Yunishu? Shankara writes Deva, Pitra, Nushya, Pashu, Mrigadi. Clear enough? Needs an explanation? Deva, Pitra, Manushya, Pashu, Mriga.
Yes.
Any doubts what each of these means?
Dev is Devata.
Acharya, what is Mriga?
Mriga is Hiran.
Very good. Mrig and Pashu, right? So Mrig is usually Hiranya as a small deer. Therefore, Pashu Mriga means a big animal and a small animal. So big form, big animals, small animals. Right. So Pashu
Acharya,
Mriga, yeah.
sorry, why they are different, Pashu and Mrig, why they have been distinct,
Pashu is big, like
differentiated?
cow, or maybe an elephant, or even a big buffalo. Mrig is
Okay, I thought
small.
it's the characteristics, maybe I thought.
No. Just the
No.
body size. So whatever animal, big or small, Ya Murtaya Sambhavanti are born in different forms. And Shankara adds, you can take them as Murchita Anga Avyavaya, having various limbs in different forms. Murchita means developed. So whatever bodies are born with developed organs, like organs referring to hands, legs, nose, ears, whatever. Tasa Mahad Brahma Yoni, for all these forms which are born from all sort of wombs, you have to remember that Maya Prakriti is the final Srishti and Sthiti Karanam. And Aham Bija Pradah Pitaha, I am the universal father. Maya gives the names and forms. Tasam Mahad Brahma Yonihi. Maya gives the names and forms. And I, Brahman, Bija Pradah Pitaha, I give the Chidahabasa. I give the reflected consciousness and existence. Right? And therefore, Krishna is making a very clear point here that if you look at the earthly mother and father, the Laukika Mata Pita, they produce offsprings of their own species only. The human beings produce human babies, dogs produce dog babies, cats produce cat babies, tiger produces tiger babies. But I produce all the species, and that is why universal father. So Sarva Yonishu Yamurtaya Sabdavanti. Whatever species of living being is born in this world, the intermediate Karanam may be the immediate mother or father. But the original Karanam is Maya only. Right? With this, the Samashti discussion is over. And from the next verse onwards, you will look at the bondage discussion. Remember that this Samashti discussion, this four verses, can be taken as an example of, as an explanation of this particular verse. Purusha prakristho hi bhungate prakritir jan gunan karanam gunasangosya sadasat yoni janmasu. 21st verse of the 13th chapter. So these four verses is an explanation of that one particular verse. With this Samashti discussion is over, from the next verse onwards, we will start the discussion on how gunas cause bondage, how to handle them, which we will discuss in the next class. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your
Thank you,
patience.
Acharya.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Acharya.